And finally, to the survivors of Harvey Weinstein, I owe, and we all owe, an immense debt to you, who had the courage beyond measure to speak your story to the world, to this courtroom, at great personal risk and in great personal pain. To those of us who were privileged to be in the courtroom when they testified, you know what I mean. These survivors weren't just brave, they were heroic.
Is it me? I'm just tired of old white guys telling me stuff. I don't want to kind of hear it anymore. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah. So here's the other thing about this guy. I think he might be doing a like mea culpa, you know, and it was a nice speech that he gave. And I like how he said that we're in a new day where these things will not be tolerated, and that the case, although he was disappointed, you know, about that only 2 of the 5 charges were put up against him, that we're in a new day, etc. Cy Vance, DA, who knows if he wants to move into other areas of politics, out there giving a wonderful speech, giving credit to the heroes of the case, which I agree, they are the heroes of the case, the women who came forward and testified, all of them. But Cy Vance called him a vicious sexual predator. And now let me share this other thing with you about what Cy Vance didn't do when he had the opportunity. I think that Cy Vance is trying to clean up his record so that people might not, like women especially, might not remember that when he was, you know, his office sought reduced sex offender status for Epstein. The arrest of Jeffrey Epstein, this was a while back, has renewed, when he was still alive, had renewed scrutiny of how he was treated by the office of Mr. Vance, the Manhattan District Attorney. Look at that. Cy Vance says he was not aware of his assistant's attempt to reduce Mr. Epstein's sex offender status. Now, what is the likelihood of that? Any lawyers in the crowd? What is the likelihood that a huge top, like a very important person, VIP, getting a sex offender status from your office, and your assistant was doing it and you were unaware of it? What are the chances, Kelly? What are the chances?
What are the odds? I think there's also probably a better than average chance that Epstein was donating to various campaigns.
Well, when we spoke with Harriet, and I do encourage everyone to go and watch that whole long talk that Harriet gave, you know, she discussed how when Epstein was convicted in Florida, by the way, he was convicted and sent to jail where he got, I think it was 16 hours a day off to go to his office for work, where during that time he continued to sexually assault women and young women. So that happened. There are public officials on record saying we couldn't do anything else. This is a matter of, it's a higher up. It's a matter of intelligence. So if you listen to the research that Harriet has put together, you know, that's what this is. Anyway, so this is a sick world we're living in here. But, here's what happened. The arrest of Jeffrey Epstein on the new indictment gave the scrutiny of another prosecutor's treatment of Epstein, the Manhattan DA. During the hearing in 2011, a seasoned sex crime prosecutor from Mr. Vance's office argued forcefully in court that Epstein, who had been convicted in Florida of soliciting an underage prostitute, should not be registered as a top-level sex offender in New York. New York, of course, where he did a lot. I don't know if it's the majority, but quite a bit in his, in his mansion here in our city. Instead, the prosecutor, Jennifer Gaffney, asked the judge to reduce Epstein's sex offender status to the lowest possible sex offender classification. So when you're Googling, who are my neighbors? Do I have sex offenders? You know, he doesn't come up as a human trafficker. Anywho, this would limit personal information available to the public and kept him from being listed even on that registry. So, yeah, Cy Vance, I get it. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place when intelligence tells you you cannot prosecute this guy. You need to keep this under wraps. You need to kind of keep this on the down low and hush hush. But then you do that, and then you blame it on poor Jennifer Gaffney. Who the hell knows who that is, really? You're still responsible no matter how many speeches you make after Weinstein is found guilty.
And he also let the Trumps, he didn't prosecute the Trumps. He let them slide for a few things, but that's a whole other story.
What? That fucker? Now I'm even more mad.
But the Harvey Weinstein thing, this is remarkable because, you know, he went so high and he fell so low, and he was in a you know, a sea of scumbags. He was a scumbag above all, in that he just didn't stop. And you know, and it's just, it's amazing that he's sitting in Rikers, where Jeffrey Epstein was got to live in Palm Beach. And I think it's a good example to people to understand that the way things were done with the whole casting couch and letting this guy run amok, you know.
Yep. Yay. So anyway, a little bit of, they can prosecute Weinstein because it wasn't a matter of, like Epstein, it wasn't a matter of national security.
Yes.
So he should have seen that coming. All of that power did not help him. I mean, it did kind of. He didn't get the worst, but I guess we'll see what happens if they give him like, well, we'll give you 6 months with a cuff in your mansion.
He's going to go to California though. They said they're going to send him to California for trial after he's sentenced in New York. That's the latest I read today. So yeah.
You mean for like punishment?
No, he literally is going to be retried. He's going to be tried in California for a bunch of crimes just as bad, if not worse.
Or more rapey stuff. Oh, great. So at least he's already
a bi-coastal rapist. So, you know, he's a national, which is not funny, but
it is a very funny joke, but it's not a funny.
And the fact is that to put it in perspective, he preyed upon extremely vulnerable people. I mean, for example, Gwyneth Paltrow said that, you know, he came onto her and her boyfriend at the time, Brad Pitt, like, threatened him. So if you don't have a famous family like she did and a famous boyfriend, you know, it's these more vulnerable people with, like, you know, different issues that were his easy prey. And, you know, it's they got their day in court finally, you know, so.